Computer science videos here today to show you guys in tutorial 7 of programming in CSS3, CSS backgrounds. Without further ado, let us start the video. So in this tutorial, you need to have access to a Mac computer. So we can now go over down to the dock, go to Launchpad, search for the application, text edit, click on this and then Command S to save. Navigate to the documents folder, my YouTube channel, CSS3 tutorials, create a new folder called CSS Backgrounds. Change the file name to index.htm. Save, yes, use.htm. And now increase the size of the text edit file. Increase the font size, and now we are ready to start programming in HTML5 CSS3 to bring in the CSS backgrounds on screen. But before we do that, we need to explain what CSS backgrounds really are. So, the CSS background properties are used to define the background effects for elements. You will learn about all the CSS background properties from background color, images, repeat, attachment, position. So now we can move on to CSS background color. The background color property specifies the background color of any element. We can start with an example. Go to the text edit file, less than exclamation mark doc type HTML. HTML, doc type defines the document type, HTML defines the HTML document. We can bring in head and body within HTML. Head defines information about the document, body defines the document's body. We can have title within head if required to, but not for this tutorial. Go within body now and type in h1 hello world less than slash h1 greater than that itself is a heading for hello world. Go to a new line, bring in a paragraph. Less than p, greater than. This is a paragraph. Less than slash p, greater than. And now add in style within the head to bring in the CSS. Body, curly brace, new line, background color. Colon, light blue. Semicolon, new line, curly brace. Command S to save. Go all the way down to the dock. Go to Finder, Documents, my YouTube channel, CSS3 tutorials, CSS backgrounds. Go to the index.htm. Right click, open with Safari. Minimize Finder. Decrease the size of the web browser. Decrease the size of the text edit file so we can then see both windows simultaneously and work on them at a concurrent level. So now we have a website with a heading and a paragraph and a background color of light blue. So that itself is background color. With CSS, a color is more often specified by a valid color name like red, a hex value like FF, and 4 zeros, an RGB value like RGB25500. We can now move on to other elements. You can set the background color for any HTML elements. So, go to the index.html file, go within style. Instead of body, we can change this to H1. Go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page. What do we have? Hello world with the background color of light blue. Go back to the index.html, highlight the previous lines of code, go to a new line and paste. Change H1 to P, change the color to yellow. Command S to say, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? This is a paragraph now has a background of yellow. So that itself is the background color for HTML elements. We can also move on to opacity and transparency. The opacity property specifies the opacity and transparency of an element. It can take a value from 0.0 to 1.0, the low value and more transparent. So now if we comment out all the HTML code we have on screen, as we no longer require this, less than, exclamation mark, double dash, dash dash, double dash greater than, slash asterisk, asterisk slash. Go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? Nothing on screen. That's because everything is now within comments. As we are not using the code on screen, we are changing the code that relates to opacity and transparency. Go within body and type in div class equals first. Greater than, go to a new line. We need a heading, H1, opacity 0.1. Less than slash H1 greater than. Go to a new line and end with div. And now we can highlight and copy and then paste a couple of more times to save time. And then change first to second and third. The 0.1 needs to be changed to 0.3 and 0.6. Bring in another div class. Remove class first. H1 opacity 1. Default. Command S to say, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page to see what we have on screen. We will just have opacity 0.1 all the way to 1 on 4 lines. That's because we need the CSS styling. If we go to style, div.first. Curly brace, new line indent, opacity 0.1. Command S to say go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? Opacity 0.1. Copy this and then paste on the new line beneath. New line again, change 0.1 to 0.3, change 0.1 to 0.6, and first to second and third. Command S to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? Nothing at the moment. That's because we need to backspace. Go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page. If we look at the transparency to see what is really happening, 0.1 has faded away. We can actually see a different fade with a different color background. Div, curly brace, new line, background color, take from the top code line, highlight, copy, paste, colon, hashtag 4CA, F50, semicolon, curly brace. Command S to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? The transparency and opacity in full effect. Fading, kind of fading. 60% of a fade on number 1, no fade. When using the opacity property to add transparency to the background of an element, all of its child elements become transparent as well. This can make the text inside a fully transparent element hard to read. Absolutely. So that itself is background color with other elements and opacity and transparency. Now we can move on to background image. CSS Background Image. The background image property specifies an image to use as the background of an element. By default, the image is repeated so it covers the entire element. We can now move on to an example. Highlight everything we have on screen, copy, and then move this to a new Word document for later use and later reference, just to save the code. Command S to save. Save as work. Quit Word. Go to Finder. Move the work document within the folder CSS Backgrounds. And now we can remove all the code we no longer require because we are no longer working with that code. Command S to say go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we see? Nothing, because we're no longer working with the code we removed. And now we can work on the background image. Go within body, H1 hello world, bring in a paragraph, this is a paragraph. We also need a background image that we can find online. Save the image as image on desktop. We will move this to the folder in one moment. Go to Finder, Documents, My YouTube channel, CSS3 tutorials, backgrounds for CSS, image.jpg. is now in the folder it belongs. Go within style. Before we do that, go to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? Hello world. This is a paragraph. Go within style, insert all the CSS required to. Body curly brace, indent, background image. URL image.jpg curly brace. Command that to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? The background image we inserted on screen with hello world. This is a paragraph. And now we can move on to background repeat. By default, the background image property repeats an image both horizontally and vertically. Some images should be repeated only horizontally or vertically, or they will look very strange. If we wish to repeat an image horizontally or vertically, this is the code we require. Go within body, next line indent, background repeat. Colon repeat dash X. Semicolon. Command that's to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page. And what do we have? The image only being repeated one way and not the other, only horizontally. We can now move on to no repeat. Showing the background image only once is also specified by the background repeat property, which is no repeat. So we can go within body, within style, no dash repeat, remove dash X. Command S to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? Only one image as a background for the title, heading, and paragraph. The background position property is used to specify the position of a background image. Go within body, within style, go to a new line, indent, and type in background position. Colon, right top. Semicolon. Command S to say, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and what do we have? The image is now on the right top side of the page. If we were to decrease the size of the web browser, the image will move left to right. To fix this, we need background attachment. The background attachment property specifies whether the background image should scroll or be fixed. This will not scroll with the rest of the page when moved left, right, up, down. So, go within body, within style, indent, background attachment. Fixed. Semicolon. Go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page, and the image itself has been attached to the right top with a fixed position. If we require it to scroll, change fixed to scroll. Command S to save, go back to the web browser, right click, reload the page. When we move, the image also scrolls. And so in this tutorial, we looked at the background properties from color, image, repeat, attachment, position. So we can quit Safari, quit text edit. That's it with this video. I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Thanks for now.